Wizard.
Hi, I'm Everett Abrams, the Wizard of Wood, and we had a request from one of our subscribers that asked if I would talk and just do a video on cleaning and maintaining wood, what chemicals, what products to use, and how we would do that. So we're starting out here at a job where we've used the Deck Restoration Plus Deck and Wood Stain, and we put Seneca Brown on old cedar shakes and new cedar shakes that were replaced here. So in the future, we're going to want to maintain this. So how are we going to maintain this? Well, it's the same thing with a deck or cedar siding, so forth. We're always going to do 2 coats the first time on horizontal, vertical surfaces, everything. And then in the future, what's going to happen is on a stained surface, the mold, mildew, and organic growth will be on the surface of the wood. So that's all we need to remediate in the future and worry about that. So we don't want to take all the stain down. We just want to maintain our coating. Maintenance. We don't want it to break apart. We don't want it to gray out. We don't want it to be a hodgepodge of graying, peeling, and so forth. So what we're trying to do here is maintain this coating that's been put on. What we do is we're going to put a 4 or 5 year maintenance plan together that's going to be discounted, because in the future we don't have to restore the wood like we did using different products and chemicals this time. We'll actually just do a cleaning, and the cleaning is going to involve 3 or 4 different types of products that we're going to use. We'll go over in a minute, but the process is simple: a light clean on all the surfaces, and then you have to evaluate what you're going to do as far as the coatings. We're going to do 1 coat or 2 coats. Here on a shaded side of the house, we're probably just going to do 1 coat, okay? And then on the sunny side, where it's going to wear more because of the sun and it breaks it down, we'll do 2 coats. So here we're just going to put the single coat. And what do we clean with in this case? Again, we'll go over the chemicals in a minute, but all we need is something that's just going to get rid of that organic growth that's going to come on here, or brighten it up in the future, get rid of anything that's oxidized. A lot of people say, well, oxidation and oxidized, you know, what is all this? What happens is a coating will oxidize as well. So it needs to have a light cleaning to remove all the oxidation that's off of there. So a cleaning is an important step in your maintenance. All right, so we're going to take a walk around and we'll look at some of the other sides, and hey, what are we going to do with here? But this side in the shade is probably going to get just 1 coat to keep it even in the future. Sunny sides will get 2 coats. Let's take a look. All right, here we're on the sunny side of the same house. And what I want to show you here is how the sun is hitting the house. And you can see it looks different in the sun, even though it's still got the 2 coats, and we just did this. So all this has been done in the last week or so all the way around here. So if you look over here, the sun's on this. What's going to happen when we come back in that 4 to 5 year plan for the maintenance plan, this will have worn more than the front that we just showed you. That's why we would probably put 2 coats here, 1 coat in the front, and that keeps everything looking even all the time. The part of maintenance that's important is don't treat every side the same way all the time, because as it wears, it's going to wear differently. A deck will be the same thing. The railings are going to wear twice, or they're going to last twice as long as the floor. The floor will wear twice as fast. So you'd always put 2 coats on a horizontal surface, but a single coat on a vertical. We'll show you more back at the training deck, and we'll go through the chemicals and what we would use and so forth there. But this is the process and the idea of what you would do in the future with maintenance. Okay, let's head back to the training deck and we'll take a look at grade wood and some of the products that we would use to maintain a deck. You are currently watching a Wizard of Wood approved video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and thank you for watching our videos. And we're back on our training deck now, and we can show you exactly what we're talking about with grade wood, and we're talking about maintenance and cleaning wood and chemicals and so forth. So we looked at the wood that's been stained and how are we going to clean that. And here, how are we going to clean and restore this? In other words, there's no coating on this wood. And the coating that was on the cedar shake house, that is one we're going to maintain. So it's not like we have a lot of buildup of growth, we have old stain we have to deal with. This is just about cleaning and maintaining wood. The basics, kind of. And the easier things that we have to deal with when we're talking about wood restoration, care, and maintenance. So if you look down at the deck here, you'll see the wood is completely gray. There's not a lot of organic growth. We don't have a lot of gray. We don't have a lot of organic growth. We don't, a lot of mold, mildew, algae, a buildup of that. It's just pretty much grade wood. So we don't have to go like crazy with the thought process or anything. It's how are we going to restore this and make it look good? Well, there's a couple things we would do. The first one is we have to consider good, better, and best methods. So the first one is sodium hypochlorite or chlorine bleach, used usually with house wash. The house wash is a surfactant. It helps hold it to the surface, especially vertical surface, gives it a little cling, and helps get rid of the mold, mildew, and algae, the organic growth. The issue becomes on wood being so porous. Bleach reacts with the first thing it comes in contact with. So it works really good on a non-porous surface. Wood is porous, so right away you're kind of at a disadvantage. So where does chlorine bleach come into the mix? On the lower end, it's probably the least desirable because it can, especially if it's abused, which it is often, by people using too much bleach in the mixture, and it naturally whitens or lightens the wood, and you can't get that color back in most cases. So chlorine bleach is just supposed to be a small amount with some soap or detergent, and then it's used as a wood or a deck cleaner, a wood cleaner. Now if we go back to the Cedar Shake house, if everything's on the surface, the mold and mildew that I alluded to earlier in the video, then all we're really doing is surface cleaning. So we could use what we call a house wash mix, which is the same thing we do when we clean our homes and our siding. It's on a non-porous surface, so it gets that surface mold, mildew, and algae. Again, if we did a proper job staining or sealing our cedar shakes or our logs originally, or wood side at home, then all that'll be on the surface. So chlorine bleach solution would be effective. Here, it won't be as effective, but it can still be used because we don't have a lot of growth. If there was a lot of growth, the chlorine bleach would hit the growth, react with it, and be done. It reacts with the first thing it comes in contact with, so it doesn't really help with the restoring or the cleaning of the wood. So we clean the deck, but we really don't restore the wood to its optimal point and level. There we have to go to something a little bit stronger, a little better to get to the root of that growth. Chlorine bleach, because it works on non-porous surfaces better, cannot get to the root if it's rooted in the wood and it's been neglected for a while and we have a heavy buildup of growth. And I don't care what anybody says in any Facebook group or anything else, that's just the truth. It does root into the wood, it's a porous surface. Bleach is not as effective as some other products at getting to the root of the growth. Now, let's look over here and we'll go to our fence over here. And on the fence, we'll see the same thing. It's a vertical surface, but the fences are grayed out, okay? And we can see how gray they are. And with this grayed wood, same thing. If it's just grayed and there's not a lot of growth, so mold, mildew, and algae and so forth, which just isn't that bad, it's mostly just grayed, we could use a bleach and a house wash mix. That's your first one that we're talking about. So if you're in the business, we call it a house wash mix. If you're a homeowner and you're watching this, it's chlorine bleach, soap, and water, and it will get you a effective job, okay? But we will on the good, better, best method, the good method. So now, what is the better and best methods? Well, let's talk about some of the other products, and we'll come over here and talk about that. Now, the first one would be sodium percarbonate or oxygenated bleach. Many of you folks have heard of OxiClean, and with OxiClean, we use, which you find in Home Depot, used for a lot of different things. It actually has sodium percarbonate in it, which actually gets to the root of the wood much better, or the root of the growth in the wood much better. It's more effective at killing the root of the growth. Sodium percarbonate is also, being an oxygenated bleach, is environmentally friendly. So it's better for the environment, better for the plants and so forth, doesn't burn them like chlorine bleach will. This will give you a little bit more of an effective clean. It darkens the wood up a little bit more. Bleach kind of whitens it and lightens it. If you think about your clothes, when you wash your clothes, you use the detergent to clean them, okay? And the chlorine bleach is to get rid of or whiten and lighten the clothing, but it doesn't really do the cleaning. We use the detergent for that. That's why in a house wash mix, we're using detergent and chlorine, or chlorinated bleach. Sodium percarbonate, oxygenated bleach, and environmentally friendly, gets to the root of the growth, and price-wise is pretty affordable. Now, when we compare this, we'll compare this to the next one up. The next one I want to talk about is sodium metasilicate. And sodium metasilicate is a product that is not bleach at all, so it's neither. But what it does is, it also is surfactant, it gets underneath any of the growth. If you have heavy growth, you would go to this. Sodium hypochlorite, sodium percarbonate are really good at some basic gray wood, some light growth, that kind of stuff. You get heavy growth, you want to go to the next up the scale. The reason being is if you didn't, you're going to react with the growth. Then you got to go back and clean it a second time to get it to where you want it. Whereas you could go to sodium metasilicate type product and get all the growth off and restore the wood at the same time. Okay, so sodium metasilicate would be the next one as far as price, effectiveness, and so forth. Now, let's talk about another one I don't have right here. It's called hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide has been around for a long time. I remember, of course, it was a little bit while ago for the Wizard of Wood, but a lot of the girls in school would use hydrogen peroxide to, bleach out their hair. It does the same thing. It's going to bleach out the wood to a different tone and color, a lighter color, lighter tone. It is environmentally friendly, but because it's environmentally friendly, don't think it's as safe as sodium percarbonate, because it's not. It can be dangerous to handle depending on the quantity, how you're buying it, how you're using it. The other thing is it's about 3 times more expensive, okay, which a lot of people don't talk about. So if it's 3 times more expensive and it's almost the same as sodium percarbonate, but why wouldn't you just use sodium percarbonate at 1/3 of the price? Because that's really what you would do. The other thing that people don't talk about, and that's why you're watching the Wizard of Wood, is because you get the information straight here and you get some of the detail that a lot of people don't talk about. A lot of people will talk about chlorine bleach being bad for the wood, okay? It destroys the lignin in the wood, and the lignin is the glue-like substance that holds the wood together. Well, chlorine bleach used to be used in paper making, and the chlorine was to destroy the lignin so that you would have the pulp to make paper. Okay, so we use chlorine bleach. So it's a far stretch to say that chlorine bleach, which is not chlorine, diluted down to a certain percentage, household bleach is about 5.5%, would destroy the lignin or ruin a deck. Now, would unnaturally take out the color? Sure. If you put it on and it's not wet or you don't rinse it off, sure, it'll dry the wood out. It can hurt the lignin, it can hurt the wood. But it's not as destructive as some would portray it to be. And then some people are out there saying, oh, well, hydrogen peroxide is so much better. Well, it's because nobody is actually talking the truth about hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide is also used in paper making and does the same thing and will destroy the lignin. So it should be taught, it should be explained that hydrogen peroxide can also destroy lignin, meaning a surface should be pre-wet before it's put on. It should not be put on dry wood, where I see videos of people doing that. It should be put on wet wood. When you pre-wet wood, it will not destroy it, and it allows actually for a more effective clean. People that tell you to put on dry wood are probably just want you to use more of the product because it takes more to use. But hydrogen peroxide, Google it if you want, is actually used in paper making because it destroys the lignin. So if we're going to say don't use bleach because it destroys the lignin of the wood, those same people are saying use hydrogen peroxide because it's safer, it's better, when in actuality they both do the same thing. They've both been used in paper making to destroy the lignin in the wood. So let's get rid of that stuff. You heard it here from the Wizard. So now we've talked about cleaning with the different types of products. We've talked about chlorine bleach. We've talked about sodium percarbonate, oxygenated bleach. We've talked about hydrogen peroxide. We talked about sodium metasilicate. Now there's some other people out there that will use sodium hydroxide, which is a stripper most of the time. It's effective at using oil-based coatings mostly to strip off oil-based coatings. Sodium hydroxide has been around a long time. Some people will use that to clean with. If you do use the clean with, it can fur the wood up pretty easily, so you should reduce your dwell time, usually cut it in half, and you should also cut your mixture in half. So let's just say you're using 8-to-1 or 4-to-1 to strip a product off with, you'd make it 8-to-1 to use for cleaning, and you could use that, and that would only be used for like heavy growth, to make it easier to just clean one time. For those people that are, if you're a contractor or you're a company watching this video, would you really want to spend the labor and the cost, because labor is expensive, to clean a deck twice? Or would you rather do it once? If it's got heavy growth, go to the sodium metasilicate or even use sodium hydroxide. So to the person who asked me to do this video, This is just cleaning and restoring grade wood or maintaining wood and what we would use. For us, a lot of times we're using the sodium metasilicate product for almost all the time because it's non-bleach and it's very effective. I don't have to worry about doing it twice. If I were to use a bleach solution on something like this with grade wood, I would absolutely use sodium percarbonate. It's a third of the price and does the same thing as hydrogen peroxide. I would not use chlorine bleach in this situation on grade wood. However, we go back to that cedar shake house where I have some stain or growth that actually grew on the cedar shakes, but it's stained, then I would use a house wash mix with a little bit of chlorine bleach with the soap. Again, it's on, it's off, and I'm always surface cleaning. So that's how the Wizard of Wood does it. And that is me trying to explain how we do all this, why we do it, the different products and so forth. There is another video on the channel where we're actually using the products and actually doing the restoration. You can check out that video as well. So now that we've done this video, we're going to do one talking about strippers as well. So I'll talk about sodium hydroxide a little more in depth in that one. I'm Everett Abrams, the Wizard of Wood. Thank you for watching this video on cleaning and maintaining wood.